Hello, I'm Jeremy.
And I'm Mandy. Welcome to the latest edition of our Talk Death video series, where you get the chance to ask experts your questions about all things death and dying. On that note, make sure to let us know about any death experts. That sounded way better in my head. Let us know if anyone that you think we should have on our show in the comments below.
We're especially excited today because this is the first video since we relaunched the Keeper blog, TalkDeath.com. And we've gotten a lot of support from all of you since we relaunched, and we just wanted to let you know how grateful we are for that.
Thank you. We are also excited because today's guest, or should I say guests, work really hands-on with families to offer green and alternative end-of-life options. Without further ado, let's welcome Melissa Unfred, aka the Modern Mortician, and Kermit the Grief Therapy Dog. Hey guys.
Hi. Hey, Kermit.
Hi,
He's here.
Hi, Kermit. Melissa is a first-generation funeral director and embalmer, i.e. a mortician, who has over 20 years of experience in the death care industry and has been fully licensed for the past 5 years in Texas. Melissa is passionate about empowering families to care for their own dead and supports home funerals and green burial options as well.
That's for your furry companions as well.
Right. She is also a member of the National Home Funeral Alliance, the Funeral Consumers Alliance, and she's a supporting member of the Order of the Good Death.
Also joining us is Kermit. Kermit the dog is the first certified therapy dog in funeral care in Texas. Both Kermit and Melissa are pet therapy team members of the Dog Alliance. Kermit has also received national and pretty much worldwide recognition through a bunch of interviews and features. Before we get to everyone's great questions, Melissa, can you let us know a bit more about what you're currently working on?
So currently, I am in the process of trying to start my own all-natural funeral home for people and pets. I really want to call it more of a death care center because it would encompass so much more than traditional funeral homes do in America. But that is my goal right now, is to get that off the ground.
Awesome. Well, good luck to you with that because we need more of those. We're so excited to get to everyone's questions. We got so many this time for both Kermit and Melissa. So let's get started with the first question.
So our first question is by @HeyWolfPack from Instagram. And they want to know, with so many autopsies being performed, what is your protocol to have a green burial when at least some type of embalming must be done? Do you only treat the surface of the body, or are there circumstances that you will require a family to choose embalming?
Okay, so to answer that question, I want to first say that embalming is not going to be a required or a necessity even with an autopsied body. That's my personal belief. So what happens when the body is autopsied? This is actually one of my more favorite questions to answer. We get, as funeral professionals, a body in a plastic bag that has had maybe a whip stitch, is what they call it, to close the Y incision. So it's just quick little stitch. All the viscera, which is the human organs, including sometimes the brain, have been cut into sections for autopsy dissection and placed into a red biohazard bag, which is placed into the chest cavity before that whip stitch is completed by the autopsy tech or medical examiner. So when I receive a body, it is in that condition. It's nothing like you see on TV, and I do explain it to families this way too. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. When I get the body, I remove the plastic bag and I undo the whip stitch. I take the viscera bag out of the chest cavity and I'll set it between the person's knees. At this point, they're laying on probably an embalming table, dressing table, or bathing table. So the big difference here between where you would embalm the body and you don't is you just don't inject. You still want to aspirate the fluid that is accumulated in the chest cavity and in the pelvic region. And then you can kind of not dampen, but suck up any additional moisture with like a washcloth, something you typically already have in a prep room. Now here's where it gets a little different. I like to use organic wood shavings and lightly dust the interior of the chest cavity and pelvic cavity before I start to replace the viscera. At that time, I will open the viscera bag. And to be a little honest with you, this is where it gets intriguing and fun for me because I became a mortician because I was interested in human anatomy. So you take your hand, gloved hand, proper PPE, always, always. And you remove each section of organ that has been placed in that bag. And you want to start with filling the pelvic region first because it's kind of in there. Your incision doesn't go that low, it's a bit cavernous. So you kind of begin by putting in the organs into that pelvic region. And as you're taking them out, you're identifying them yourself. You're seeing parts of another human that nobody else has ever seen before. And it's very reverent and it's also very beautiful at times. So what else will happen is once I put all the organs back into the body, you will come across brain matter as well. And you'll see that and place it all back in. And then the next thing would be to put another light sprinkling of the organic wood shavings, which if you're in a pinch can be replicated with like pet bedding. That's my big ha-ha moment. You can use pet bedding in lieu of other, like chemicals, but we like to say it nicely. So, and from there, a lot of prep rooms have this amazing product called web roll. And it's the cottony sheets. And I like to lay one of those down over that final thin layer that's separating the organs from now the chest plate that you're going to place back on, and then redo your whip stitch for that Y incision and start that baseball stitch all the way out. That's the main difference there. You just didn't inject them with chemicals. You have to treat the cranium as well. So if they've had a cranial autopsy, as funeral professionals or those who have been embalming, we know you sometimes have your skull cap has been separated from the rest of the cranium. So you want to do the same thing. You want to aspirate that area out and remove that fluid, pat it down, put down a drying layer, and then fill the cranium with like cotton, something soft and organic and natural, because it's not going to make any sense to try to put those slices of brain back into something and not be concerned about purge happening. So you want to leave that area kind of vacant. And then you can do your baseball stitch and you're good there too.
When it comes to, so you're doing this different type of preparation, would you say that the amount of time, effort, skill level, would that be similar to embalming? Is it a simpler process, what you just described?
I think it is a more simple process when compared with embalming. Many people don't know that I was very pro embalming at the beginning of my career because that's what I was taught. And I very much appreciated the art of the restoration, taking something that looked so sick and frail and giving it life again. Now my whole thing is like accepting the death and working with what you do have. I don't like putting the makeup on or anything.